Let's talk all things Pro D2 on the channel right now. It's FR UK Rugby, your home of French rugby in the UK and for English speakers around the world. And if you're one of those, then give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and leave your comment down below. I'm Tim in the UK, and you can just see Joe Worsley there, who the boot room at Brive.
I am in the boot room, and I just turned left, and I just saw what's a props boot. Look at the length of those studs. Okay,
Nice.
They used to allow longer studs, but Jason Leonard got them banned because he jumped on my scrotum with them and ripped it open. So, true story. This is why these boots are the now new limit for props. Okay.
I don't want to delve any further into that story. We can save that one for another time, maybe with a couple of stiff drinks. So how does it work? Because I know, like in football clubs, the tradition was always the young kids would buff the boots of the elder statesmen. Is there still similar sort of hierarchy stuff like that in France?
No, there's a kit man who does that. The youngsters have to do roles. They have to put everything away after training, and the youngsters do have to do the menial tasks until they achieve a level where they're allowed into the circle fully.
Go on then, give us a little look round. What else can we see there?
There's a boot room.
If there's no one else around that we're going to disturb, we should have a little nosy.
Yeah, there's a training pitch just out this door there, synthetic. Then you got the players. Yeah, a particularly ugly one there. And
Does
then
every player have their spot, or does it change match day?
No, each player's got their spot. But this is the match day change room's over in a different stand. Okay.
Where does a guy like Courtney get a spot? Because he's got over 100 caps for England, World Cup finalist, and all the rest of it. But does he have to sort of start at the base level with all the kids, or what? Does he get the corner spot?
I think Courtney got a prime spot because of his experience. This is the ice bathroom.
Lovely.
Hot and cold baths in here for afterwards. The showers, I'm sure.
And whereabouts is that changing room in relation to the stands? Would there be like people standing above it? Can you hear them on a match day?
They redeveloped one of the stands so that underneath there's gyms, laundry rooms, changing areas. And courts is around here somewhere. Just looking for the massive feet. The trainers with the massive feet. But there's so many of them. So many big feet. Here we go. Here he is.
Love it.
Course spot. So we've got some big feet. Got big
What's
feet.
he got up there?
What's he got up here?
He gets given so many free shoes and stuff, doesn't he? Look at him.
These are his weightlifting shoes.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool. Okay, there's a Dutch lad here. And we got a Spanish guy here, a Basque. Real mixture of nationalities, guys. You got this club. 18 different nationalities at the club.
So I'm just curious then. So with the crowds and stuff being above, like this weekend when there's going to be, 15,000 people there for the game against your local rivals, Aurillac, that'll be, that'll be some intimidating place for the Aurillac players to come.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think the atmosphere is going to be electric. We had 13,000 at the opening game against Aurillac. The atmosphere was good, even though the game wasn't a classic. So hopefully this weekend we can make it more exciting than we did in that Aurillac game. But yeah, the crowds here are good. They're into their rugby. It's such rugby is in the DNA in a way you probably don't see in most places in the UK.
And how about, I know you've spoken before about you come in as part of the coaching team, and there's a mindset to try and shift Brive from the traditional strengths of the set piece game to opening things up. How's that going?
It's going well. We won our first two games. Pretty much in control in the first one, but they've all been relatively close. The Angoulême game, the second one, was a very exciting second half, we could say. They're playing some lovely rugby. They could have won it on the death, but we managed to hold on. Then we lost one on the death the weekend. But we've given everybody a game. In France, it's a long season as number one. You can't use the same players week in, week out. You're going to break them, okay? They're not going to be fresh enough. They're not going to be able to play at the high level. And in France, there's a habit more than you have in England of changing the team over. So we sent a virtually brand new team to play in Nevers, which is just kind of south of Paris, at the weekend, and we lost at the death by 1 point, which is disappointing. So put a full strength team out, we probably won the game, but on the flip side, it's a long season. These players are stepping up at some point. They're now more implicated. They feel more part of the squad. They've had a game, and when they play next, they'll be more able to play at a high level. So there is rationality behind these times that French send a completely different team to an environment.
Who's impressed you, Joe? Obviously, Brive are aiming high, but Colomiers look pretty handy early on. You've got Grenoble and
Other
Aix.
teams, Oyonnax, I think, are going to be always in it. They lost 2 games out of 3, but away from home, and their style of rugby is very kind of old school pressure rugby, and that always does well. We've got good players doing it, and a good coach in Joe Labt, who we talked about before. Who else has impressed me? I mean, Biarritz had 3 wins from 3, and that was a basket case last year. You had the ex-president arguing with a mayor about everything, and it was just basically a cluster bomb. It was a mess up. Now it's been taken over by some guys, and the takeover was a little bit loose, we could say, but seems to be panning out okay at the moment. We talked to Lagisquet about Biarritz and how much they love their rugby and how much the club means to the town. It's a working man's club, despite being in one of the richest, most affluent parts of France. And the people there will be over the moon with how that's panning out for them this season. But who else has impressed me? I think Angoulême, I think, are playing some really good rugby. They got like Johnny May, but Botika's he's a fantastic 10 who can release and make people play. And a couple of other very good backs as well. So they're a team who are playing good rugby. Grenoble are doing all right. Provence are doing all right. They're the kind of teams I think could be there or thereabouts as we move on.
And you've talked before about the distinction between the structured play and then the heads up kind of more instinctive and more fluid play. The top 14 seems to be moving more so in the kind of unstructured and open play generally. But what's Pro D like at the minute? How does it break down?
It's less ball and play, more classic rugby. But again, it's changing here as well. To be able to go on and win, and if you want to move to the top 14 and do well, you're not going to be able to outpower the teams you meet in top 14. You might be able to do it here. But if we did get promoted and we played a classic rugby, it would probably be quite tough. So yes, we're trying to develop the ability for the players to realise when things are on, break out the plan, adapt, create. We're trying to work on that, and there are some players that are going to be very good at it. Carbonneau, young Leo, he's 20 years old. There's already some of the big clubs are sniffing around him. He's a fantastic player. I think Racing and Stade are going to sign Santi Arata from Cast soon. He's going to go to one club or the other, and they're both hunting for Leo, but as well, in case they don't get Santi. So there are already people sniffing around him. Hopefully we can keep him. It's his childhood club. He loves the place.
Hopefully and when you're trying to do that transition, Joe, like I'm just thinking, obviously you need time as a coach, but the fitness demands must be totally different as well. How do you build that within a tough season and a long season?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. It's a team that's been playing a certain way for 3 years. You're right. There's a mental change, the ability of the team to act differently in certain cases and make good decisions there. But on the flip side, you've got to have the fitness to do it. To play for long sequences of play is something they're not so used to. So it comes down to how you train. You've got to create a training environment that's going to replicate what you want at the weekend. So little by little, they're working harder and harder and harder and evolving by small percentages every week. So after 3 months, you got the team to a place where they're unrecognisable from the team that were playing 3 months before, in both areas like fitness, where their bodies have adapted to be able to do what you want them to do, but also mentally, so that the players understand together how to act in certain situations. It's a slow march.
As we record this, you're preparing for, like you say, one of your nearby teams, Aurillac, expecting 15,000. I just think that bears repeating and emphasising the fact that this is a second division, and you're getting attendances which the Premiership, which gets underway this weekend, and the URC, which gets underway this weekend. The vast majority of the clubs in that league would dream of having 15,000 people turning up. Yeah,
I mean, stats like that do stick out. Listen, there are other clubs that get well over 10,000 every week as well. So yeah, it's in rugby. The depth of rugby in France is so much deeper than the UK. You've got more than 50 professional teams. Those teams have all got their centre de formation, which is their kind of academies, bringing in players, developing them, trying to get them to a certain level. You've got so many. Can you just imagine, just picture that now? Because in England, you've got, I don't know, 10, 11 fully pro teams, and the rest are semi-pro. And then the kids getting developed in France. It's accelerating hugely because there's 50 places they can go to get contracts, to be developed, to get paid, to play rugby, get educated at the same time, but get paid to play rugby and develop. In the UK, you get these kids that hit a certain point. That where do they go? There's not nearly as much choice or options or depth in it. So it's not just the crowds. It's just a sign of how much deeper the professional rugby culture is in France.
Well, all the best with that game against Aurillac. We'll, of course, have highlights and reaction to that match coming on the channel. So another reason to hit subscribe and like. Just while I'm just having a look, as you were chatting, I was paying full attention to you, Joe, but I was also caught by the bright yellow boots over your right shoulder and the blue boots right next to you by your left shoulder.
Are you a boot freak as well as a kit freak?
I'm a bit of a just stash and boot, anything kit-wise. Whose are they?
I'm actually not
They look quite small.
They're Bonnies. They're quite small feet. He's a number 8, Australian from the Gold Coast.
Oh, you're a good player if you're a number 8 wearing bright blue boots.
Yeah, that's the thing. In my day, you probably would have got stoned for wearing stuff like this.
Yeah, hold on. You need like proper? Those aren't proper scrummaging studs. Do you not get your number 8 scrummaging like the rest of them, Joe? Come on.
I think they are allowed not to wear scrummaging studs. I don't want to get the scrummaging ones out. Bad memories on those ones. I don't know what other boots we got here. Look at these. These are pretty special forwards boots here.
I'll tell you what, Joe. If you had to turn out for Breathe this weekend, pick out the boots that you would put on.
Oh, man. I'm a very much the classic. I've got to go for the classic black boots.
Yeah, I knew it.
There are no World Cups. I'm looking for World Cups. It's a sign of the
No,
time.
there's no Adidas World Cups in there. Come on.
No,
Is that what you wore in the 2003 World Cup, by the way?
Yes. No, I wore Puma Kings.
Oh, another classic.
Which is another great boot, but not anymore. The Puma Kings are not so good anymore.
Oh, so there's none that passed the Worsley test in that room. Oh, there you go.
I'll tell you what I wouldn't wear. Adidas are a great boot, but look at them. Huh?
Yeah.
Guess who wears those?
Courts.
A tight head prop. No, a tight head prop. Any
Tight
guy
head
can
prop.
wear those.
Those is that Kakari top of the range Kakaris. I love it. Joe,
Walking them.
go well. Bon chance.
Thanks, guys.
And we will see you on the next video. Hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.